back to Real Estate Radio San Antonio with Karla and Stan Hester. And we just coming back from a quick break. We've been talking about a little of the events that were going on around town and the community of the different areas. But we want to take, with that all said, we kind of want to move into our segment of this show that we're going to spend a little bit of time on today, called Mortgage Matters, where we offer trusted advice and solutions, whether it be on how to manage your credit, get out of debt, the latest loan programs, what really matters in mortgage and real estate. We want to keep you updated and informed at all times. And so because this is the end of the year, we're going to take a little bit of time and talk about what it takes to get that home and some of the important things to touch base on these things. And actually, Karla and I are both residential mortgage loan originators. We are licensed through the NMLS. Karla's number is 219059. Mine is 956893. So we got that legal part of the show taken care of right there with the identification. So, but we want to talk about a couple of little things, and we get a lot of emails in during the week, and so we've kind of put these together, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of these questions that come through. And one of them that hits us is how do I lock in a rate so I know what I'm getting a rate on my mortgage?
Well, I'll talk on that, Stan. So when you lock an interest rate, you have to have, first of all, you have to have a property. So, I mean, a lot of things have to happen prior to that. So you've already gotten your pre-approval, we've gotten their income documents, you've been out, you found a home, and now you get an actual property, and we have a contract. And at that point, we can talk about locking your rate. You want to understand a rate quote is an estimate, and it's not exact. And rates change. It can change from the time that I give you that quote, to 5 minutes after that. So for moment-to-moment rate, the market can be very volatile, and it can change many times throughout the day.
We get emails constantly throughout the day. You're actually right on that. But I just want us to, so everybody kind of understands a rate quote. So someone calls up and says, here it is, and we've talked a little bit about, we've looked at, they've pre-qualified them, pre-approved them, they're all set to go. What's the rates for the day? We look on all of our information. It comes out daily. It comes out multiple times during the day, and you say, we're at this certain rate. That is just a rate quote. That's what's happening at that time. But by the time that we lock it, it could go up or down or stay the same, correct?
Oh yeah. It could do any one of those things. But however, rates have been pretty stable.
Okay.
And so there's been not a big. I mean, we've had some market spikes, but recently, just here in the last few weeks, they've been pretty stable.
Rates are pretty good right now.
Yeah, they are. So when you get a quote, just know that that's not going to be your final rate. I mean, anything can happen from the time that you get that quote to actually lock. And to lock, you do have to have a property. We have to have an address to lock that rate on. So it's legal. The rate includes what loan program you're using. If there's any points in that, if you're getting any lender credit. So there's a lot of things in pricing a rate for you. But once that's locked, you're locked. You can generally choose your rate, and when we lock you, then you're done. You're locked. And the only thing that
so if it goes up, the consumer is protected with that.
That's right.
So that's where everything's figured on their price and their payments and what they're going to be paying for that home for the term of their loan, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that will not change if you're in a fixed rate loan. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Real Estate Radio San Antonio with Karla and Stan, and that's realestateradio.sa.com with Karla and Stan. And thank you for for listening. And we're talking about, in our Mortgage Matters, we're talking about rate locks and what's the difference between a quote and a lock. The other thing with a lock, so when you're ready to lock, a lot of times we'll call you to review that, or email you and ask you if you're fine with that. So just know from the time that you send that email, things could change. So it's always good to respond pretty quickly to getting that rate locked if you're happy with it.
So the buyer has a choice of getting the of choosing yes or no on that rate. It's not something that's just handed to them.
No,
They can just
yeah,
say,
it's
"Hey,
not
I want to wait."
dictated.
But we want to tell everybody it's really not kind of like it's not like playing the stock market where you're trying to find a lot of people want to try and find the lowest rate. You just have to accept what is at that time, what's good, and go forward with it at that.
I always say if it's a good rate for you and the payment's good,
Grab it.
lock it and don't look back. Just, be happy with it.
Yeah.
But one of the questions, too, is can a rate get unlocked? I mean, not really. I mean, obviously, if there's several things that can affect the rate once it's locked. One of it is LTV changes. So let's just say your appraisal came in, you're refinancing, and your appraisal came in lower than what we anticipated. That could affect your rate, even though you're locked, because rates are locked based on credit score, based on LTV, and based on loan program.
And LTV is what for listeners out there?
Loan to value.
Loan to value.
So
Okay.
how much equity you have in your home or how much money you're putting down. So how much equity if you're refinancing or how much you're putting down as your down payment can affect your rate. So if your credit profile changes, if your credit increases or worsens, that can affect your rate before you close.
We've talked about this so much in the past, credit, your FICO score. And this is where all of that that we've talked about in the past really comes into play right here, because each investor has their portfolio. The government has their standards set up, and it'll run across. If you have a 620 to maybe a 639, you fall in a certain price range. If you're a 640 to a 660, it's a different price range, and so on. So if you're at an 800. You may get a much better rate than what somebody is naturally at a 740. So FICO score is really, really important, and that's why we talk about it all the time, because if you're getting a loan, a 30-year loan, I mean, even if you only keep that loan for 10 or 15 years, that can be a huge difference on the amount of money that you pay for that loan over that period of time. It could be, I couldn't say a price, but it can be a substantial amount over a period of time, and that's why it's so important to work on your credit score and to make sure that you know where it is and get it up to the max amount that you can. I mean, it's not something that you can get up overnight, but there are a few things that if you look at it, you might be able to help yourself, and it could save you a lot of money in the long run. I mean, there's a big difference between a 620 and a 640 as far as interest rates.
Yeah. That is right. So one of the other questions, Dan, was what?
It says, am I allowed to cancel a home loan application after I've started one? So when I sign all those papers, someone comes in, they sign all the papers, and they get that loan started. It's like, okay, I've signed all the paper.
Yeah. You are not obligated. You're not obligated on that loan until that loan closes in funds and recorded at the courthouse. So at any point when you start an application on your home, if you have a change of heart, it can be canceled. You can just send an email, write a letter, give them a call. The best advice, though, I would say, if you wait too long throughout the process, there could be some fees that you owe, such an appraisal fee. If the appraisal's been ordered and done, you will owe for that appraisal. Sometimes there's credit report fees or something that someone may charge you, but certainly at any time until you go to closing and actually close and fund, you can cancel that loan.
Can cancel that loan. Yeah, that's one of the big things we try to advise everybody, that they can cancel that loan at any time.
That's right.
So, make sure that we want people to make sure they make the right decision in their life.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
That's
As
right.
you move forward, a big decision here.
It's a big decision, and they're not obligated if they choose not to be. Before they close.
Here's one of the questions that we've got, and of course this is a little jargon in our language here. So can you please tell me what a GFE means, and how does it help me, or what does it do, and what is a GFE? A
GFE is a good faith estimate.
I think that's a key word right there, isn't it? Estimate.
Estimate. So in the beginning, it's still a good faith estimate. And fees, there's some fees that cannot change. There are some fees that it can change. There's a 10% tolerance on. So, and then there's some, like your insurance and different things, those can change. But a good faith estimate, your lender's required to provide. should be provided within 3 days that you started your application with them. Should include your interest rate, your loan type, your closing costs, your monthly costs associated with the property. This is to ensure that you understand and you review all the costs related to your loan.
That's what the good faith was created for, was for consumer information, so that whenever you sit down, you can see exactly what you're paying, where this money is going, how much it's going to cost you. It's another thing. So during that loan, you can find out what's going to happen and how much money you're going to need to actually purchase that home.
You can compare it too. So
That's
you can get a good
point.
faith estimate and a fee sheet from a couple of lenders and sit down, with them across from each other and make a decision based on.
You don't hear very many people say that very often, Karla.
What?
Get a couple of different good faith estimates and find out who's got the best deal for you shopping around. Huh?
But people should, because it's protected themselves, and normally we're going to be the lowest in fees and best in rate. But I don't like to brag, but
yeah. But check us out. That's a good way to find out.
That's right. So compare us with somebody else.
Yeah. So as we're moving along here, some of the other questions is what. And this is a good one, because I think about this as just being in our business. We go through this all the time, and we think we understand this, but a lot of people don't understand. What is a conforming loan?
Conforming would be, the guidelines is a 417. So with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac,
417 what?
417,000.
It's the max of that loan that you can get on that.
Is a
most
conforming
cases.
loan.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So the best known of the guidelines is that size of the loan. In most counties in the United States, the current maximum size for a conforming loan is 417. However, there's some that'll have a high balance. Mm-hmm. There's some high balance, like in California or different parts.
Alaska, Hawaii. I think there's some of those.
But 417,000 is generally what you're going to need to know on a conforming.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to be back with some more. We're going to make this some really interesting talk here as we head into the second half of our show. You've been listening to Real Estate Radio San Antonio on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, and we'll see you just in a few minutes. Thank you very much. Stay tuned and for great more advice.